Welcome to Nevertheless Weekly Podcast by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, a podcast dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you will discover how to discern your purpose and live powerful.
Hi, welcome to Nevertheless, a podcast dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. My name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. I'm always excited to bring this your way. Great news, this podcast can now be listened to on PFA radio in the United States of America. My friends Elsa and Daffy, the host of PFA online radio show, have graciously agreed to air this show. That's 6 p.m. Nigerian time every Monday and Wednesday. It's really a great thing to be able to say that this is expanding. I hope if you're in the United States or somewhere around there, I hope you get to listen to us on PFA radio. The show will just be as great when you listen straight or directly from my website, or when you listen on PFA. It's going to be just as great. The great nuggets that will bring your way will continue to be what will bring your way. How's your week been? Mine has been exciting. I'm actually very particularly excited this morning that I'm recording this podcast. I just feel in the air that something is going to break positively around us. And incidentally, it's a Thursday morning here in Lagos, Nigeria. In a few moments, we'll be starting the discipleship class. So it's really exciting to be here. I hope you're excited to be alive. I mean, what's the greatest gift that you can get if not that of life? Last week, we looked at partnerships, liabilities, and leverage. And we looked at how the partnership relationship stands out from every other relationship. We agreed that the partnership relationship is a relationship that is bottom line driven. You come together with your partners to achieve something. And because it's bottom line or result oriented, the idea, the greatest or most important thing you need to remember about a partnership relationship is that you must be very careful going into it. It's one of the relationships you must be most deliberate entering into because you want to deliver on your set goals. Today we'll be looking at some other aspects of how relationships impact upon our destiny or our journey to purpose. But before that, I'd like to just take a break so I can take a sip of water. I'll be right back.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life's just simple. Don't worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless from a bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order now. I guarantee you will make it nevertheless.
I'm back. And we're moving things around a bit on the podcast. I'm sure you hear a few other things caught in between this podcast, different from what you used to hear. I have been blessed by God to be able to write 3 books: Sister Power, Discovering the Power of Collaborations; Destiny Navigational Application; and Discern and Sense, Discover Mandate; Deploy Power, Demonstrate Dominion is my second book. And the third book is You Will Make It Nevertheless, a compilation of what I call my encouragement series. When I look at Nevertheless, I can trace the map for my life and how far I've come. And so we'll be intermittently on this podcast just putting the word out there on how you can lay hold of these books, because I can assure you they'll be a blessing to you. I also have a few things coming up that we'll be talking about, like it's going to be very soon, we're the last quarter of the year, and very soon the year will be coming to an end. And one of the things that I'd love to put out there for you is that you need to plan your life for 2016. So if you're listening listening to this podcast and you'd like to join our online teachings on how to plan your life for an entire year, then please just leave me a word, leave a comment, send me an email, bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com, and I'll be sure to give you the details of how we're going to be putting that product together. Let me just quickly put it out there that it will take an investment. It's not going to be free. It will take an investment, but I can assure you that it is something that you need to try because it works. Okay, on to today's podcast. What are we talking about today? I'll be right back.
Are you frustrated and tired of life? Do you feel trapped in life's maze and don't seem to find your way? Or are you passionate about your purpose and destiny and want to find out more? Then get a copy of DNA. DNA, Destiny Navigational Application, is a book written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, where she coaches you to distill the answer to the cry of purpose, mandate, and significance. She teaches you how to discern your essence, discover your God-given mandate, deploy power, and demonstrate dominion. Get a copy of Destiny Navigational Application from any bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order now.
Thanks for holding on. Thanks for following. Thanks for listening. Today we want to look at, I don't even know what to call it, but I think that I want to call them the 5 things of the 5 laws of contracting relationships for destiny. This may change, but just loosely, just thinking about it, these are the 5 things you must know if you would contract relationships that will enhance your destiny. Years ago, I read a book by a man called Mitch Albom, and the book is titled 5 People You Meet in Heaven. 5 People You Meet in Heaven by a man called Mitch Albom. And I have been thinking on that book lately and the lessons that I learned from reading that book. It's a book about the story of a man called Eddie, who in his estimation lived an unfulfilled life and died wretched and died what he wouldn't even call a heroic death. But it seemed like, according to Mitch Albom, when you die, you get to meet 5 people in heaven, and each person you meet takes you to a different level of heaven. And I learned 5 things from reading that book, and I want to put those 5 things out before I go to the meat of today's podcast. The first thing I read from reading 5 People You Meet in Heaven is that there are no random events in life. There are no random events in life. Everything is orchestrated. Everything is ordained. So even when we're talking about relationships and destiny, or relationships and purpose, and you're thinking on constituents, comrades, confidants, partners, and all kinds of relationships, you want to recognize that no one is an accident in your life. Everyone is either a lesson or a value. So you need to recognize that the first lesson Eddie learned when he went to heaven, or when he got to heaven, was that there are no random events. Everything is orchestrated. The second thing I learned reading 5 People You Meet in Heaven is that someone always pays the price. There are no free lunches in life. Someone always pays the price. Someone is always responsible for the things that you enjoy. And you need to recognize that. You need to know that even when one of the reasons why you should take relationships seriously, especially if you are intentional about living a life of destiny, is a recognition that someone always pays. Someone always pays the price. There are no free lunches. For everything that I know today, someone paid the price. I'm quoting to you, or I am telling you lessons I have learned or gleaned from a book I read over 8 years ago. Somebody paid the price for me to be able to podcast this today, and that person's name is Mitch Albom. So you need to go on recognizing that on the journey to destiny, someone will always pay. You may not be the one who is paying for the season that you're in, but someone had either paid or someone is paying. The third lesson I learned from reading 5 People You Meet in Heaven is that things are not always as the same. Things are not always at the same, so you need to always dig deeper. You can't be living a life of purpose and be shallow or be surfacey. Everything you do, you just look at it on the surface. There is always a deeper meaning for everything that you will come across or you will do. There is always a deeper meaning. Things are not always the way they seem. And Eddie learned this, in the story of his father, whom he always held a grudge against because he felt that his father was a failure. And he found out in the end that his father didn't die because he was a drunk. His father died because he was saving another man. So things are not always as they seem. You need to always dig deeper. The fourth lesson I learned from 5 people you meet in heaven is that love is never lost, even if it seems so in the moment. Love is never lost, even if it seems so in the moment. There's a relationship in my life that gone south recently, and I can see that the other party is very distraught because she just wants things to go back to normal. But I want to put the word out here that things may never go back to normal, but the truth of the matter is that love is not lost. A moment will come when hopefully the love will be rekindled again. Maybe not at the level we used to have it, but that's the reality of life. You need to recognize on your journey to destiny that love is not lost. The people you will meet, some will love you now, some won't love you tomorrow, but it doesn't mean that does not negate their season in your life. Neither does that negate your journey or whatever it is you achieved in that season of your life with them. You need to recognize that love is never lost, even if it seems so in the moment. The fifth lesson I learned from 5 people you meet in heaven is that life allows second chances. Life allows second chances. Life allows U-turns. So you don't write anyone off. You don't go out and say, oh, because I was in this person's life and they didn't get it, then they would never get it. No, life allows U-turns. Life allows second chances. You'll be amazed how it played out in the life of Eddie, the character in 5 people you meet in heaven. At the beginning of his life, he was a soldier in the war and he had set a heart on fire. And there was a shadow he saw that he was trying to save, and his captain shot him in the leg. Long story, but you need to read the book. It turns out that by the time Eddie died, he died saving another young girl, because it turned out that the shadow that was running out of the hut the first time when his life began was a young girl. And by the time Eddie died, he died pushing another young girl out of the way of a crane that was dropping in an amusement park. My point is that life allows do-overs. Are you not grateful that the God we serve is not a God that is as judgmental as I would be? Because the way my mind works is, if you don't get it, I write you off and you're done. But thank God, doesn't act like that. He takes his time. He gives us the opportunity time and time again for us to get it, so that we can do a U-turn and come back. So those are the 5 things I learned from 5 people you meet in heaven. 1, in life, there are no random events. 2, someone always pays the price. 3, things are not always as the same, so you need to dig deeper. 4, love is never lost, even if it seems so in the moment. And 5, life allows second chances. So we'll soon go into today's teaching on the 5 things you must know if your relationships will be a success. I'll be right back.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragements, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life's just simple. Don't worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless from a bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimark-mordi.com to place your order now. I guarantee you will make it nevertheless.
Welcome back. It's still Nevertheless, and my name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. I said that we'll be looking today at 5 things, absolutely important things you need to know if your relationships towards destiny, your transactions in your relationships to destiny would be enhanced. You need to know 5 things, and they're very simple things, but all of these things, incidentally, are taken from my book, Sister Power, Discovering the Power of Collaborations. Last week, we put the link on how to get it on Amazon on our show notes. And this week we'll be putting that link on the show notes again, or in the show notes again. The first law in transacting in relationships that will enhance your destiny is the law of recognition. In the book Sister Power, I talked about midwives. And I talked about how to recognize your midwife. You need to be able to recognize those people that God has placed in your life to help you lift that which you are trying to lift. I have been blessed with the opportunity of a lot of midwives. My mother is my first midwife, is and will always be my first midwife. She did things in my life and she still does things in my life that keep me pushing through, pushing the envelope so that I can do the things that God has ordained me to do. My husband is another midwife. Upon his coming to my life, things changed, turn around. The girl who wasn't so sure of herself became that person who became so confident of who she is in Christ, just because my husband kept affirming me and kept speaking words of affirmation to me in places where other people had attempted to tear me down. So you need to recognize your midwives. In the book of Exodus chapter 2, you will see the story of Pharaoh's daughter and Miriam. These were two midwives for Moses' destiny. But you see, it took Miriam understanding and recognizing that Pharaoh's daughter was one of Moses' midwife for her to get into a collaboration that transitioned Moses from a wicker basket on the Nile to the palace, to Pharaoh's palace, where he got trained in the attitudes and the courage of a prince. So you need to recognize. The law of recognition is very powerful. If your midwife walked past you today, will you recognize them? And when you recognize your midwife, one of the tools you need and you must have is you must be willing to be humble enough to submit so that you can get the best out of your midwives. First thing, remember, is the law of recognition, an ability to recognize those that God has put in your space to lift what you're doing. The second, absolute, remember that I said laws, which means that these things are meant to be obeyed. The second one is understanding the big picture. Understanding the big picture. 9 times out of 10, I see people come to me and say, oh, I know you're my mentor and all of that. But they don't see the big picture. The big picture usually is one hand washes the other. There is something we're trying to achieve. You are painting your stroke and I'm painting my stroke. So you don't come into a relationship or a collaborative relationship just looking to take from someone and not giving back. You need to recognize the big picture, because except you recognize the big picture, then you will not be able to see that even though that person is in your life to enhance you, you are also in their lives to make a contribution. Law number 2, understand the big picture. You will say to me, where did I see that? In the Bible, can I support it? Oh yes, David and Jonathan. If you read the book of 1 Samuel chapter 18, from verse 3 to 4, you will see how Jonathan comes across David and recognizes immediately that David is the deal for the now. And what did Jonathan do? Jonathan took off his princely robes and gave them to David. It was Jonathan saying, I recognize the big picture. I may not be in the picture, but I am here to support you. I'm entering into a covenant with you. And incidentally, when we read on, you find that Jonathan died in battle and so many things happened and it looked like the entire house of Saul was wiped out. But one day after David became king, he made a pronouncement. He said, isn't there anyone of the house of Saul that I can show favor to? And guess who they found? They found Mephibosheth, who happened to be Jonathan's son. So you need to recognize that there is a big picture. There is a big picture that, it's one hand washing the other. Law number 3 is that you need to know the value proposition. You need to know your value proposition. You need to know the value proposition. Before you contract any kind of relationship, you need to ask yourself, what is this person bringing? And you need to also, be quick to ask yourself, what am I giving in return? Understand value proposition, because the reason why you get in relationships and after a while the people begin to avoid you, they don't take your calls, when they see you they don't smile anymore, is because they don't see any value. So understand the value proposition. Recognize that everyone is meant to put something in this pot, because we're cooking a fantastic meal that will feast everyone. But if everyone is going to partake of the feast, shouldn't everyone bring an ingredient? Understand your value proposition. That's what the next law, your law number 3. And if you ask me, what relationship in the Bible exemplifies this for me is the Ruth and Naomi relationship. Ruth said to Naomi, your people shall be my people, your God shall be my God. Wherever you go, I will go. Where you die, I will die and be buried there too. That was Ruth recognizing that even though Naomi was in a downtime, in a time when it looked like Naomi had nothing, Ruth could see that Naomi had something of value in her religion and in her God. And Ruth made the commitment to go with Naomi. Naomi had nothing in the physical to offer. But as this relationship progressed, you will find out that for Ruth to eventually get married to Boaz, Naomi was the one that gave her the strategy. So you need to recognize your value proposition. Law number 3. Law number 4 is you must stay in your strength zone. I see people every time trying to impress me. They want to, try and give to me what they don't have. You hear them boasting, making boasts, I know this person, name dropping and all of that. You don't need to do that. Just come in what you have. Last week, I said it this way. I said, come as you are. There is no need for pretenses. Stay in your strength zone. When I go into people's relationships, I have so many relationships that, have blessed me. What I try to do is I try to discern within myself what strengths I have that they need. It doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. I have a relationship with a much more elderly man, a friend to my husband. There's nothing he needs that I can offer him in material terms. So the only thing I know that I can do for him is pray for him, call him up periodically just to check on him and say a word of prayer over him. And he actually does say to me, recently he was a bit indisposed and I was in a tight place and I didn't get around to calling him. When I eventually got around to calling him to say, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't call, he said to me, I'll be lying if I did not tell you that I was expecting you to call me. That's powerful. For me, it was very instructive that there is nothing that is a waste when you are in the right relationship. So stay in your strength zone. Don't try to be someone you're not. What relationship in the Bible exemplifies this for me is the Deborah and Jael relationship. Deborah was a prophetess. Jael was the one in Judges chapter 4 who pushed the peg, or who struck the peg or hammered the peg through Sisera's head to kill him and to give Israel victory. You need to recognize that everyone has a strength. So when you are coming, stay in your strength zone. Don't try to conjecture or presume what the person would like to see and try to be that thing even if you are not that thing. Law number 4 again is stay in your strength zone. My 5th law is understand the bottom line. Understand the bottom line. Understand the bottom line. I cannot emphasize this enough. Jonathan understood the bottom line. He said, I know that you are the next king. He already knew. He had no problems with it because Jonathan realized that it was not about being a Saul's family. It was not about David's family. It was about what God wanted. Do you recognize the bottom line in the relationships that you contract? Anyone who comes into relationships with me and does not understand that my bottom line is people cannot last in a relationship with me. Because personally, the reason why I live and breathe is to be able to add value to people. And yes, it's difficult sometimes. Yes, sometimes I want to give up. Yes, sometimes I really just want to be on my own. I want everyone, the ground to open and swallow up everyone so that I'll be on my own. Yes, it can get that terrible sometimes. But the truth of the matter is when all is said and done, people are my bottom line. So I expect that anyone who would be in a relationship, a winning relationship with me, would understand that my bottom line is not money. Is money important? Yes. Do I need money? Oh yeah, I do. But it's not what drives me. It is people that drive me. And the reason, and because people are my bottom line, you get to see the way I latch to people, to try to push them, to drive them, to pull their strength out of them, because I believe that everyone is equipped to be the best version of themselves. So law number 5 again is you need to understand the bottom line. You need to understand the bottom line. And in this regard, I want to use a relationship that didn't quite end well. And it was the relationship that you find in 2 Kings chapter 6 of 2 women who came together to collaborate to eat their children because there was a a famine. They came together and they said, there's a famine. Okay, let's kill my own child first. We will eat and cook and eat. And then when the meat is finished, we'll come back and kill your own child. What the other woman, the second woman, did not recognize was that the first woman in her heart was never going to give up her child to be slaughtered for food. She thought that they had the same bottom line, but they didn't. So obviously, she brought her child and they slaughtered and they cooked and they eat. I don't understand who eats their children. Yes, it's a great question to ask, but let me just go off on a tangent and say that even in this generation, we're eating our children. Yes, we're not slaughtering them and grilling them and barbecuing them to eat, but in the things we allow them to be exposed to, we are actually eating our children because they are our future and we're breaking them down instead of building them. So this woman brings her child and the child was slaughtered and they ate the child. When it was the turn on the other woman, she refuses to hand over her child. And that became a major issue. They had to go to the king. That's not the way to collaborate. But I brought that out for you to recognize that when the bottom line is not in sync, only catastrophe can result from that kind of relationship. Do you want me to go through our 5 laws again of transacting in relationships? Okay, then you will need to just give me a moment. I'll be right back.
Are you frustrated and tired of life? Do you feel trapped in life's maze and don't seem to find your way? Or are you passionate about your purpose and destiny and want to find out more? Then get a copy of DNA. DNA, Destiny Navigational Application, is a book written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, where she coaches you to distill the answer to the cry of purpose, mandate, and significance. She teaches you how to discern your essence, discover your God-given mandate, deploy power, and demonstrate dominion. Get a copy of Destiny Navigational Application from any bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order now.
Welcome back to Nevertheless, and I was talking about the 5 laws of transacting within any kind of relationship so that it can become a winning relationship. And I talked first about the law of recognition. You need to recognize your midwives, because it's one thing to need a midwife, is another thing to recognize who that midwife is. Not everyone who comes into your life is a midwife that is useful to you. Law number 2, understand the big picture. Recognize that you're painting a stroke and I'm painting a stroke. So we need to be very clear of what the picture is if we will be able to bring the right ingredients to cook that soup. Law number 3, know your value proposition. What are you bringing? Be very clear about what you bring to the table and be very vocal about that gift that you're bringing. Law number 4, stay in your strength zone. Don't come into any relationship pretending that you have something to offer that you have not. And our final law is understand the bottom line. What is the bottom line in this relationship? What are we trying to achieve? This person that wants to midwife me, what is it that makes the person tick? Because if you know what makes that person tick, then you will make the right contribution, and that gives them the freedom to bring their own immense and tremendous value into what you're doing. I've had a lot of fun bringing to this podcast your way. Like I said when I started, I'm really excited today, especially. I can feel that things are shifting in your life to bring you to a place where all you sing is just songs of rejoicing, because you have a new vistas have opened onto you. And I want to congratulate you in advance to say thank you. Welcome to the new season of your life. Life is beautiful if you live it on purpose. Life is powerful if you live it on purpose. And life is definitely impactful if you live it on purpose. Till next week when I'll come your way again, don't forget, if you're in the United States, remember to log on to Praise from Africa Radio. That's PFA Radio, so that you can listen online on Mondays and Wednesdays to my broadcast on that platform. And please share with your friends. Invite your friends to download, follow me on Twitter, leave me a message on Facebook, leave a comment even on my website, and I'll be glad to respond to you. Never forget that when you discover purpose, then you live powerful lives. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast by Bidemi Mark-Mordi. We would love to hear from you. For more information and resources, visit www.bidemimarkmordi.com. Don't forget, when you discover your purpose, you will live a powerful life.